Hello everyone, this is Gary from Fantastic Fundas, and in this lecture we are going to talk about the Ghadar rebellion or the Ghadar movement or the Ghadar revolution. Now we read about that how revolutionary terrorism was rising, right? I gave you all the story of how there were, if you remember from the last lecture, how there were reforms, and after the reforms there was this thing, formation of organization, and then came the one of the most important organization, which was Indian National Congress. Okay, and then came, and then there were moderates who were very active, and then came extremists, and then came the revolutionary terrorists or the revolutionary nationalists. And the peak of the revolutionary nationalism, it was reached, the climax, you can say, it was with the Ghadar rebellion. And we read that how in revolutionary terrorism, how the people, the movement of a revolutionary nationalism was spreading across the world. And one of the most prominent places where this movement spread, in fact there were two places, one was UK and the other was United States of America. Okay, now we'll talk about this, which ultimately leads to Ghadar rebellion. What was happening, that in 1914 there was the beginning of the World War I, right? And then Britain was in difficulty. So Britain's difficulty was India's opportunity. See, a lot of people say that India got freedom because of World War II, right? So there was World War I also, we could have got this freedom here also. So it is not the truth that we got our freedom because only of World War II, though it had a contributory role as a contributory factor. Same way over here in World War I time, Britain was in difficulty, and British difficulty was India's opportunity. And this opportunity at this time, it was taken by the Ghadarites. It was in North America, okay, and this opportunity, one was taken by Ghadarites, okay. One is Ghadar movement, other is the Home Rule League movement, right? In this lecture we'll talk about the Ghadar movement, and in the next we'll talk about the Home Rule League movement. Now what had happened in the background, that there were a lot of people from India who were going abroad. So what were the reasons for which they were going abroad? The number one reason was people, they needed a lot of peasantry, especially Sikh peasantry from Punjab, and all these people, they were going. And then there were other reasons actually, because of many reasons, right? Number one was like poverty. It's not the prime reason, but just counting it. And then there was a people needed shelter, okay, from Britishers. And then over there in USA, the literature was immune from the Press Act. There was a lot of restriction on the press in India because of the various press acts, and thus it was easier to speak freely there in United States, okay. And then number 4 is the quest for arms, because keeping arms in India for Indians was very difficult, and this was solved through by going to USA, right? Now and what is the main area? The main area has been the west coast of United States, where Indians have been going. And in fact there has been influx of Punjabis to this area since 1904, okay. And a lot of people from these districts of Punjab called Hoshiarpur and Jalandhar, from these places, they in search of their survival, the means of survival, they were going there, right? And so many of them were, like as I told you, peasants, and many of them were ex-soldiers who went over there. Now they some went over there to United States directly through India, and some of them went there from the Middle East, okay. So because they were not allowed entry, or some immigration issues were always there, and many were of course refused entry when they went there, and they faced a lot of racism over there. And then Indians were also not aware of the Western ways and manners. So Britishers and the Americans also did not typically liked the way Indians were behaving. So there were restrictions on Indians going abroad. So at this time, these were restrictions, and Indians had their own reasons for going abroad, and Britishers wanted to counter those reasons, and they will not allow Indians by placing restrictions on them. These restrictions over here, they were criticized by Indians. And how was it criticized? It was, for example, criticized by Tarak Nath Das. Tarak Nath Das, who wrote a paper which was called Free Hindustan. In this newspaper, he said British are ready to send us to Fiji, to do the labor work, but not to the United States or Canada. This is not acceptable. Okay, and then here there was another leader, right? This was Tarak Nath Das over here. There were many other leaders who were supporting Indians against the Britishers. For example, there was Ram Nath Puri. Okay, I'll just write his name, Ram Nath Puri. Right now, he issued what is known as the Circular A Azadi. Circular A Azadi, and in this he pledges to support the Swadeshi movement, and all those things are going on, right? We also know that there is Shyamji Krishna Verma, right? We talked about him already in quite a detail, and then he also establishes his India Home Rule Society, right? And he also made what is called as India House in London. Okay, and then it, in fact, it had scholarships, right? Many radicals were brought to London under the scholarship to be into this India House. Okay, and for example, Savarkar went over there, right? And Savarkar was there. I already talked to you in about these things. He wrote Sociologist. That was his pamphlet, right? So on these line things were going on, right? And then there were other people going abroad. For example, G.D. Kumar. Okay, and then there was Tarak Nath Das, who wrote the Free Hindustan, which I just talked to you. Okay, so these people went there, and they also, along with them, there went what is known as the Khalsa Diwan Society. Okay, Khalsa Diwan Society. Right. What happened that they, G.D. Kumar, Tarak Nath Das, and Khalsa Diwan Society, they decided that we will meet all these people. They decided that we will meet the colonial secretary. Okay, because they genuinely felt that the Britishers were not aware of the condition of Indians in India. Britishers who were sitting in England, they were not aware of it. So they basically decided that we will meet this person, right? And then what happened that he refuses to meet, right? But then they get time from the Viceroy of India to meet him, right? And similarly, okay, what happened that when they were welcomed to Punjab. This is how it happened, right? And but nothing could be worked out relating to migration, and all this helped in promotion of the revolutionary movement. Viceroy did not listen to their appeal at all. Okay, so this is like the beginning of the background of the Ghadar movement, how it is spreading the worldwide, right? And as I finished the last lecture also about how the movement was spreading worldwide, again I'm talking about how it is spreading. There are more examples of it. For example, this G.D. Kumar, he started this magazine called Swadesh Sevak, okay, by G.D. Kumar, and it was on the lines of the Indian House in London, and he started this in Gurmukhi also. Okay, and Gurmukhi is the script of Punjabi language. Now, because all this was going on, London overall in this scenario, because Britishers were very angry with Indians, the London in this scenario, it became dangerous for Indians to stay. So Indians could no longer stay safely, carry out their revolutionary things over there, right? And this thing all happened actually. London typically became unsafe for London unsafe. Okay. Especially it became unsafe for Indians after the Savarkar had been extradited, okay, and transported for life. So Savarkar was in London and he was extradited from London. Extradition हुई, उसको वहाँ से उठाकर ले आए, and then after he was here, he was given transportation for life. That means he was given life imprisonment, and in which case, in what is known as the Nashik conspiracy case or Nasik conspiracy case, right? Now, what had happened in this Nasik conspiracy case is very simple thing. Okay, I'll just quickly tell you that in this, what had happened that there was one. I'm telling you about Nasik conspiracy case. Okay, there was one ICS officer. He was by the name of Jackson. okay, and he was shot dead from a very close distance, right? And he was sympathetic to Indians, you know, this person ICS Jackson, but even then he was murdered. He was called a good topi wala. Good topi wala. This is what good Britishers was called at that time, Indians. But many artists felt that these good topi walas are more dangerous than other topi walas, so better he be murdered, right? And then the case was run, and then it was this actually there was a lot of talk, like, you know, if any weapon, any murder happens these days, that becomes a big news. So this was a very big news at that time, and that is why we are studying this. And it was found that this murder was actually not a simple murder. It was the result of a deep-laid conspiracy to overthrow the British. Okay, so there was inquiry which found out about the conspiracy, the brain behind which, the soul behind which was the Savarkar. Okay, and the case was held, and in a very legally speaking, it was a very concise and precise judgment. How to write concisely, if you want to know that, you can see this judgment in just 20 pages. It was concluded that Savarkar was the man behind it. So he was given transportation of life, and that means he was given imprisonment for life. Okay, Savarkar was given that punishment, and along with Savarkar, there is also one important person. His name is Keshav Shripad Chandwadkar. Okay, I'll just write his name. Keshav Shripad Chandwadkar. This man, he was given this life 15 years imprisonment, right? So that was about the this Nasi conspiracy case. Okay, right? I'll just let me clean this. Now what happened that after this Nasi conspiracy case, now so India became too dangerous for the revolutionary terrorists, and even London became dangerous, because Savarkar, when he was punished that time, he was not in India, right? He was in London, but then he was extradited to India. That is how he was punished. So London also became dangerous for India. And we have already seen that how, you know, Bikaji Kama and Shamji Krishna Verma, they were also very active in London. So overall, you know, after this this Savarkar incident plus others, okay, for example Bikaji Kama and this what do you call this Shamji Krishna Verma, okay, and Dadabhai Nauroji, all these people, London became dangerous. So movement started spreading to other areas. For example, the new centers emerged at Paris and Geneva. So at these places things started coming up. Okay, and Madam Bikaji Kama, she was a French socialist, and she brought out that Vande Mataram, all the stories that we have already done. Okay, and then, you know, after this in 1909, what happened that Anglo-German relationships deteriorated. Okay, Anglo-German relationship, that is British and Germany. Now they were not really friends at that time. Okay, and so because of this, right, we Indians thought, okay, let's go to rather than, because London is safe, let's go to Berlin, and that is Germany. Okay, and this way we started settling down in Germany, and the main leader in the Germany under whose leadership all this thing was happening in Germany, it was Virendra Nath Chattopadhyay. Okay, Virendra Nath Chattopadhyay. Okay, let me just write his name here clearly. Virendra Nath Chattopadhyay. Virendra Nath Chattopadhyay, right? Chattopadhyay, right? Whatever. So that is how it went. Okay, and things just got complex more and more. Now I was talking to you, this happened over here in Germany. Okay, but then you know, at the same time, just like Germany, things were happening in USA also. And what was happening in USA? In USA came an association, the name of which was the Pacific Coast Hindustan Association. Very important for your exam, this particular association, right? And this was also known as the Hind Association or Hindustan Association of the Pacific Coast, whatever you want to call it, right? Now it published a newspaper called Hindustani Ghadar. Hindustani Ghadar. Let me just write it once here. Hindustani Ghadar. Now this was written in Urdu and then later in Gurmukhi. Okay. And you know, and it was this newspaper, right, this was edited by Lala Hardyal. Okay, so that, and the activities of this group, okay, this newspaper, its content, its all other activities of this association, right, they came to be known as what is called as the Ghadar party movement. Ghadar party movement. Okay. And see, it was the what is so special about it, it was the first, okay, I'm emphasizing, it was the first movement which was a national, okay, which was secular, which was a democratic, and which was nationalist, okay, national, international rather, okay, national and international. So it was the first secular, democratic, national, international movement, international, revolutionary movement. That is why it is important for us. And you know, this was happening in now United States, okay, this movement, right. And in the parallel of it was also opened in Punjab, which was known as the Bharat Mata Society, right. This wasn't happening in Punjab, and it was set up, now it was basically counterpart of Ghadar, okay. So basically what we are saying is that the movement is spreading all over the world, right. The party was spreading all over the world, this Ghadar party movement. For example, it had its members working in Mexico and all this, you know, eastern region, Japan and China and Philippines. So in all the region that you can imagine, this is just a one side of the map only, okay. And below, if you go to Southeast Asia, there you had Malaya, right, and then you had Singapore, also Thailand and Indochina, okay. So in all these countries the movement spread, Thailand, Indochina, and also in the South Africa. So basically this movement is now a totally international movement, right. But how it further spreads this Ghadar movement, I'll tell you. What happened that there was a priest, his name was Bhagwan Singh, okay, Bhagwan Singh, right. And he was a Sikh priest, okay, and he was working in Hong Kong originally, okay. And again, this is coming from international sphere only, okay. And he was working in Hong Kong, and he comes to Vancouver, right, Vancouver, and he talked openly of throwing away British rule. He urged people to adopt Bande Mataram, okay. He was a Sikh priest, right, rather than focusing on any kind of religious call, right, like Sat Shri Akal and all, and you know, Jai Shri Ram or whatever, right. He said we should focus on the nation, and he asked the people to say that Bande Mataram, okay. That is how it was going on. And Lala, you know, this time a person came on known as Lala Hardyal. Okay, he was known as the person with two brains at that time, and he was MA degree holder at that time. He was known as a person with two brains, and he was a professor at this university called Stanford University, which is one of the greatest university of that date also, and of this date also, right. So you know, he was excited by, he romanticized that attack on Lord Hardinge that we talked in the last lecture by Sachin Sanyal and Rash Bihari Ghosh, okay. So what really excited him was, one was the Hardinge issue, right. Number two, he then, you know, what happened, he issued a circular in Yugantar in which he really praised the work of the Rash Bihari Ghosh and Sachin Sanyal, right. And so people in see what happened, that people on the west coast, okay, west coast, they had been looking for a leader for a long time, and they have been thinking to invite Ajit Singh to lead them. But then here now Lala Hardyal was ready to lead, so he leads now, okay, led by Hardyal, Lala Hardyal, okay. That's how it went, right. And Ajit Singh also, it's not that Ajit Singh did not do anything. Ajit Singh also remained active, and he organized what is known as, I'll just write it for you, Anjuman A Mohsiban A Watan, okay. And see, this was the organization, and the general of this organization was Bharat Mata. This question has been asked in paper, that Bharat Mata was the general of which organization, right. So this is how the background of the Ghadar movement has started, right. And these people of Ghadarites, as they were called, they had their first meeting in United States. And where did they meet in United States? They met at the house of Kanshi Ram, okay. They met at house of Kanshi Ram. And then, you know, there were a lot of people present at this home of Kanshi Ram. For example, all the people who attended this meeting, like who were they? So there was Pai Paramanand was there. Pai Paramanand. Then there was Son Singh Bhakna. Okay, so Sikhs in particular had a major contribution to this movement, right? So there was Sohan Singh Bhakna, and then there was Harnam Singh Tundilat. Harnam Singh Tundilat, he was even bodyguard to Lala Hardyal for a long time. Okay, and obviously, there was Lala Hardyal who participated in this movement. In fact, he was the head of this movement, right? And then there were few Muslims also in this movement involved. For example, there was Hussain Rahim. It can be a question in your paper. They'll give you a list of people who are these people were part of Ghadar movement. Okay, this is very important for these years because it just completed its 100 years and all that story, right? Anyway, now that Hussain Rahim was there, right? There was Sohan Lal Pathak. Okay, Sohan Lal Pathak. You will not find all these names compiled at one place anywhere. Okay, so I've just compiled it from various places. There is Muhammad Barkatullah, beautiful name, Muhammad Barkatullah. Then there is okay, I'll write here. There is Bhagwan Singh who is participating in this movement. One, there is Bhagwan Singh. Then there is Ramchandra. For purpose of means, you don't have to remember all the names. Writing 4 or 5 would do. But for purpose of prelim, you will have to remember as many names as you can. Okay. Now there was Baba Gurmukh Singh. Baba Gurmukh Singh. Right. And then there was also Rahmat Ali Shah. Rahmat Ali Shah. So these people were there, right? And see, this person Son Singh Bhakna, he also said that see, even though majority of Sikhs were there and they had Muslims and Hindus, but they were fighting as Indians, not as Sikhs or Hindus or Muslims. Son Singh Bhakna also said that we are not here as Sikhs or Punjabis. Our religion was patriotism. Okay, this person said that our religion is patriotism. See what is happening in this movement, that the people were not wishing each other through religious salutation, that's Sat Sri Akal or Jai Shri Ram. I mean, they're not using those religious wishes. They're saying Vande Mataram. Okay, even Son Singh Bhakna and all the people of Ghadar movement, they focused on speaking out Vande Mataram, right? So, and message this first meeting gave. What was the message given by this meeting? The message was very loud and very clear that don't fight Americans. Okay, don't fight Americans. So don't fight Americans. So kya karo? What do you do? Use the freedom given in America to arouse, to provoke, to evoke people in India. Okay, use this freedom over here to fight the British, right? Because, and further it was said that it is important because Americans will not treat you equally unless you are treated so by your own country. Now this after the what happened, this meeting over here, they started a journal, right? Weekly paper which was called the Ghadar. Okay, there was a weekly paper. I'll just write on the new paper page. There was a new weekly paper which was called the Ghadar. And also there was their headquarter that was in headquarter that was called as Yugantar Ashram. And in fact recently there were pictures of this ashram in the Hindu newspaper and many other newspapers. Okay, and this is in San Francisco. Where is San Francisco? San Francisco, it's on the west coast of North America, right? And this became the home and headquarter of all the people who were fighting over here. Please understand what was the objective of this movement. Okay, one, as I said, was that we should fight use American independence. Objective was that they thought that the British can be overthrown with the use of power. They wanted to overthrow Britishers physically. Okay, same as was the case of Savarkar, right? So British can be overthrown with physically by, how will you overthrow them? This movement had its own way, and it said we will do an armed rebellion against the Britishers. So like 1857, there would be rebellion now, right? And for this they are preparing over here. You see, we are about to get the freedom. What happens that Indian immigrants, they were going in large numbers to India now. So immigrants coming to India, they spend, or people who had migrated there, they spend their lives, money, earning property to organize this revolt. Okay, and this way the Ghadar movement had started. Okay, and the Ghadar was the weekly newspaper of this, and in fact it was initially published in Urdu and later on it was published in Gurmukhi. Okay, then Ghadar means revolt. Okay, and it had many captions, this newspaper over here. You can be asked this question in your exam also, that which newspaper had these captions in it. Okay, for example, it said that Angrezi Raj da Dushman. Okay, it's in Punjabi for people from South India. I'll just translate for you. Angrezi Raj da Dushman. Okay, da Dushman. It simply means that enemy of the British rule. Okay, then Angrezi Raj da Kacha Chittha. Okay, Angrezi Raj da Kacha Chittha, the true account of the British Empire. So that was right, the one of the captions. Okay, and then there was a beautiful message in this thing, right? Another was Ghadar di Goonj. Okay, the sound of the Ghadar, the sound of the revolt. So that those captions were used. But then there was very nice one. I'll just quote it. This is from NCRT. Okay, they would use this: wanted brave soldiers. Okay, and to what for? To stir up rebellion in India. Now you can just write this in paper also. It will be beautiful thing if you can do this. And what was written below it? What is your pay? Death. You will get death for it. What is the price of it? It is martyrdom. Okay, and what is the pension that you will get with this? Is liberty. Okay, and then where is the field of battle? It's in India. So such thing was there in this newspaper, weekly newspaper paper Ghadar, right? And it had this 14-point agenda on it, including drain of wealth theory was also involved in it. You see, the moderates brought drain of wealth theory, and this militant nationalist. Okay, they are using that theory. These revolutionary nationalists, right? Revolutionary terrorists, they are using the drain of wealth theory, which was brought by moderates. So how we can say that real independence of India was achievement of all? You can never say that these people were successful on their own. They would have never discovered what drain of wealth theory would have said without Dadabhai Nauroji and all its propounders. Okay, and see, and Ghadar di Goonj was also a poem by them, right? But then what happened suddenly? This movement started lapsing. Okay, there were 3 incidents because of which this whole movement failed. Okay, the 3 incidences happened in 1914. What were those incidences? I'll tell you. Number 1 was Lala Hardyal. Okay, Lala Hardyal. He was arrested and then he flee from arrest. He was arrested by United States and then flee from arrest and he flew to Switzerland. Okay, that's one, right? Number two is outbreak of World War One, and okay, the outbreak of World War One. And number 3 is Komagata Maru incident. Okay, Komagata Maru incidents. This is very important for your paper because this has been in newspapers last year. The newspaper was just full of this incident, especially this Komagata Maru incident, outbreak of World War One. Obviously, it all happened 1914 and 2014 were 100 years. Okay, so that is why it is important. I'll tell you about Komagata Maru incidents here. Okay, Komagata Maru incidents. What is happening in this? Let's talk about it. See. What happened that under the Canadian government had this bizarre law. Okay, what was the name of this law? It was called as the Continuous Passage Act. This is the background of the Komagata Maru. You must understand this to understand Komagata Maru. Now, what is happening? Continuous Passage Act, right? Now, according to this, see, it was passed by Canadian government, and it said that it prohibited, right, landing of any immigrant that didn't come to Canada by continuous journey from their homeland. Okay, for example, you are here in India, right? So what happens? You move from here, you Mumbai, and then you ship you are going, and then you finally reach over here. You reach Canada. Okay, Canada. But if you are, suppose you are an Indian citizen, but you are coming from somewhere else. Okay, you came, rather than coming from here, you came from here, and then you stopped at somewhere in South Africa, and then you moved to Canada. Then under this act, you cannot be allowed to enter Canada. Okay, so what happened? There was a very brave person, and his name was Gurdeep Singh. Gurdeep Singh. I'll just write his name for you. Gurdeep Singh. Gurdeep Singh. Now this person, what he did, he was living in Singapore, okay, and he hired a Japanese ship, which was standing at a place called Yokohama in Japan, right? He hired a Japanese ship, right? The name of the ship was Komagata Maru, okay, that was the name of the ship. And when he went to Canada, when he entered Vancouver, okay, Vancouver, what Canadians did, that they threw them out on the basis of Continuous Passage Act, right? Now they said, no, you cannot enter this place, and you are being thrown out because of this act, right? And actually, why this act was passed? This act had its basis in the racism. Canadians said that Indian immigration, they would call Indian immigration was the brown invasion of Canada. This is what they would call it. So it had a pure racial basis to it, right? So when ship entered Vancouver, it was not allowed, right? And it was cordoned off. So while it was going back, right, now this is the ship over here, okay. What happened that this ship when it entered Canada, it was not allowed entry. It was said that no, you cannot enter here, you go back. Now this ship starts moving back, okay. Now it's moving back to Japan from where it came, right? But then Britishers also came to know, and meanwhile the World War I had broken. So Britishers ordered that none of the passengers can stop anywhere on the way, and all the passengers be directly brought here to India. And all the passengers go back to Calcutta, okay, and at Calcutta, they landed at Bajbaj, okay, and near Calcutta. The passengers, the Britishers arrested them all, which were mainly Sikhs. This ship over here, it had 246, 24 Muslims and 12 Hindus on it, right? So arrests were made, and then procession was carried out, which was carrying six holy book Granth Sahib. And you know what happened, that on that procession, Britishers fired and many Sikhs particularly, and people of all other religions got killed. And that is why this incident is of great importance, particularly in the history of Punjab when it comes to nationalist movement of India. We have been talking about the contribution of Bengalis and Madras, Maharashtra. So this was a major contribution of that came from Punjab, okay. Now so that was like pretty much about Komagata Maru. Do expect a question, maybe in prelim or mains question on this Komagata Maru, right? Now what happened with the breaking of World War I? Now Ghadarites, see, when World War I broke up, the Ghadar movement, Ghadar movement, they said, okay, fine, now this is the time, because we can control Britishers, they are under the pressure of the World War I, so let us send arms and men to India. Okay, and as I told you, they gave all their money and property, and they were all sent to India to raise the this revolt against this Ghadar against the Britishers, okay. And then and what they would do once they reach India, they would persuade people over here, they would persuade the several regiments, and they successfully did also several regiments to rebel against the Britishers. So one of the first Indians who came to back India at this time, his name was Kartar Singh Sraba. Okay, Kartar Singh Sraba, he came from United States of India, and he was organizer of the mutiny among the Punjab garrisons. Okay, so he played a major role in the freedom movement over here. And then what happened? Ghadar was in India, right? Some were while coming into India, some were arrested, and some were allowed to move. Okay, that's how things were going on, right? So but when the Ghadarites, these people, when they arrived in India, okay, now they are arriving in India. Now they have arrived to India, but when they arrived to India, they find that the people of Punjab in 1914 were not ready for any kind of rebel movement. Okay, they were not ready for the Ghadars, and they were not ready for this romantic adventure of Ghadar. So and Ghadarites were having no leader in Punjab. because all this movement was happening in United States, and in Punjab nothing like this was happening. So that thing that we'll fight Britishers, we'll kick out Britishers, we'll throw out them, this was all happening in United States. It wasn't happening in Punjab, right? So what happens there, that there's no leader. Okay, now everyone is seeking leader. Kahin se leader lekar aao. Where will you get the leader where the movement is already going on? So where the movement is already going on, it's going on in Bengal, right? Bengali leader is called upon, and the person who is called here is the Rash Bihari Ghosh. Okay, and he became the leader of the revolt in 1915. It is decided that on this particular date, okay, the date chosen is 21st February 1915. It's 21st February, okay, it's not 12 February, it's 21st February 1915 is the day of uprising. Okay, it is the day of the launch of the Ghadar movement in Punjab, under which everyone will rebel. But then, you know, the CID of the government comes to know about it, and then most of the leaders are arrested and many were executed, like, you know, many people. So what happens, that people are arrested plus people are executed. Okay, and then what happens after this, you know, there are 12 men of like 23rd cavalry were executed. See, this fact is as though, you know, thousands of people were killed, but then because this is mentioned in NCRT, that you know, that is why I'm mentioning this. Okay, 12 men or 23rd cavalry word is more important. Okay, they were executed, right? Many escaped, and you know, and those people who escaped because a lot of people escaped also. And so those who escaped, they formed what is known as the Kirti and Communist movement in Punjab. Okay, Kirti parties ban gayi, Kirti and Communist movement in Punjab. Communist movements. Okay, that is how it was going on, right? So Ghadar movement had been crushed, and entire generation of nationalists in Punjab was beheaded. You know, so many people died, and Punjab found it very hard to rise. So basically, overall, you know, Ghadar movement, which could have given us independence, because there would have been another rebellious movement like 1857 over here, then, you know, we would have got independence. But where is the independence now? There's hardly any independence now. Analysis of Ghadar movement, let's do this. Okay, now see, was it successful? I asked you this question in the last lecture. Was the Ghadar movement successful? Okay, so my answer is, you know, it did not achieve freedom. It did not achieve its objective. Okay, so objective was not achieved. So in this method, it was not successful. But you know, you cannot always measure things in achievement of their objective. For example, you are writing, let's say, UPSC civil service examination. Now, if you clear this exam, you are successful. But if you don't clear this exam, world may call you failure, right? But trust me, I won't call you failure, at least of all the people, because you would have learned so much. You would be much better human being, and probably because much better than all the people, many of the people that are chosen. Because some of, what to say, I mean, okay, I should not be saying this on video, but some of them undeserving people reach there. Some of them, of course, they are deserving people, right? It's a known fact. Some of them are really deserving people. I have lot many friends who really deserve it, right? But I know few people never deserved it and are into civil services, right? And that is why actually, you know, you have this working of the civil services. So much of corruption is there, because undeserving people also reach there, right? Anyway, so the same way, you know, you cannot say that the Ghadar movement, just because it did not achieve its objective of raising the Ghadarite movement, was not successful. It was highly successful in many other manners. For example, it inspired some 700 men of 5th Light Infantry, okay, 5th Light Infantry at Singapore. Okay, this was at Singapore, which revolted against the British government. So it's a proof that you know, people were awakened. Okay, and this was happening under the leadership of important leaders. For example, one of the most important leader over here was the Jamadar Chisti Khan. Such an important leader, you must remember his name. So many of you, this is mentioned in NCRT only, this name again. Okay, and then there was Subedar Dunde Khan. Okay, Subedar Dunde Khan was there, and again, but this movement was crushed by Britishers badly. Okay, and after this, see, if you say that Ghadar was a failure, then we can say that every movement that came after this, whether it was NCM or CDM or, you know, let's say Quit India movement, every movement was unsuccessful by that method. But those movements are also quite successful on the same basis. Okay, Ghadar movement, it deepened the nationalistic consciousness in the people. Okay, so nationalistic consciousness would deepened in the people, right? And it created, okay, let me just write on the new page, right? First is the Singapore revolt that happened, right? Number two is nationalistic consciousness. Number three, let's talk about it. Now, it brought a tradition of resistance against the Britishers, the tradition of resistance, and then tradition of secularism and of democracy. Because in Ghadar movement, I told you that this was the first secular democratic movement at national level, right? It spread to the message was given to the masses in simpler form, right? Though it did not reach masses like it does in later years, जैसे कि masses तक बाद में जाके पहुंचेगा, वैसा तो नहीं हुआ, लेकिन it did reach some masses in a very simple form. That was important, okay, so that masses could understand. And then it was highly secular movement. See, so many things happened. For example, there was a word called Turka Shahi. Okay, now Turka Shahi in Punjabi, it means a word used in Punjabi language. It means oppression, okay, not operation, oppression इसके अंदर जो कर रहे थे, ऑपरेशन हो रहा था, वो तुर्का शाही, यानी कि that means like Turks you are suppressing, okay, but it was interpreted as if the Turks are bad people. But then this word was reinterpreted, and Punjabis in particular, they started seeing Muslims, that is the Turks, as their brothers. Like that is an example of secularism. And as I said earlier, rather than saying Sat Shri Akal or Jai Shri Ram or such religious wishes, people started saying Vande Mataram. So Vande Mataram was there, right? And then also there was focus on the internal improvement. For example, it was a talk in general that rather the focus from having beards and pagdi or having these sectarian marks, mathe पर टिक्का लगाना है, जनेऊ पहनना है, you want to wear a जनेऊ or whatever, right? Or you're wearing a cross in your neck, whatever, across all the religions, that is okay. That whatever you want to have a beard, wear a turban, put a tikka, whatever on your forehead, mark on your forehead, that is fine. But then people started focusing on internal religious reforms. Okay, what was more important, that people focus on what is religion is teaching, so focus on that was increased. Okay, so focus on what is religious teachings, that became the focus, what religion is saying. Okay, that became the focus. I hope I have not offended anyone by saying this. My only purpose is telling you that the focus was on religious teaching than outward appearance of any person, right? Because in many religions outward appearances are important, right? But that is not the point over here, right? If I offended anyone, my apologies from my heart. That was not my intention. My intention was just focusing on the internal changes that this was bringing on anyway, right? And self-image of Punjabis was created. Okay, self-image of Punjabis was created by this movement. Punjabis also felt that we could do something about the freedom of India, that we could also create independent democracy. Okay, so overall, I can tell you can use these words in your paper as it is. You can say that the Ghadar movement was an egalitarian movement. Okay, it was an egalitarian movement having patriotic consciousness. It was an egalitarian movement having patriotic consciousness. You can write this in your paper as it is. Egalitarian movement, right, having patriotic consciousness, yet with its own weaknesses, it's not apostrophe, with its own weaknesses. Okay, and what were the weaknesses? For example, it's okay, let me tell you the weaknesses of this movement. This movement, for example, the amount of the preparation, right, at any level, whether it is an organizational level or administrative level or ideological level, at all levels the preparation was not good. Okay, organizational, administrative, ideological or strategical, even the strategy was not good enough, or the tactical level, the tactics that they were going to use in the movement, or the financial level, at all level the movement was poorly managed, and that is why this movement failed. Okay, I mean, let's not call it failed. Rather than saying in paper it failed, you can say it had limited success. That is a better way of writing your answer, because that is the proper interpretation. Okay, and these people knew how to mobilize people against racism, but these people were not really aware that how to mobilize peasants or let's say the army, they were not really averse with this kind of knowledge. Okay, and see, Lala Hardyal was himself a great leader, but he was also very, very angry man, right? And thus he was not really temperamentally suited for this movement, okay? Because he would always be doing this in a lot of emotion. That this needed more of he's not a fool, he's a very intelligent person, but then he was emotionally charged up, okay? So there was no organizational structure. Who is the high up, who is the junior? I mean, there was no structure. Without that, how can you fight, okay? And there was no sustained leadership. As I said, there was no leadership in Punjab. You had to call Raj Bahari Ghosh. So there was no leadership. That became another issue, okay? And then but then, in spite of all these weaknesses, I can tell you to conclude up, right, that there was a waste of human resource, but it was a success, okay? It was a success, but it could have been a bigger success. That is the conclusion of this, right? And this movement also you can conclude with that nevertheless, it was having international character, this movement. That is why this movement is also important for us. But it could have been, because for example, Irish, Marxists, Nihilists, Russians, I mean, everyone was involved, okay? And they gave back us the pride of our manhood. Okay, now this is not me saying this is written as it is in the books. Women, don't feel offended on it if anyone is feeling so. And contribution to the growth of nationalism was made by this movement, right? And then, this way we'll see how these extreme extremists, okay, or the revolutionary nationalists, they have not been so successful. We could have got freedom here had this movement been better organized, better everything, right? But then it was not so good. Then, after this, what happens that after the Ghadar movement, now Ghadar movement has ended, right? After this comes the Home Rule League movement, right? And this is Home Rule League movement is a toned down version, okay? This is not so violent or not so emotionally charged up, okay? And this movement also played its own important role. And in any case, something had to be done. What about the people, okay? See, revolutionary terrorism, it started because moderates were failure, because the extremists could not do much. Now the revolutionary terrorists also could not do much. So people wanted to do something. Some people, if not all, and that ended up a lot of people supporting the Home Rule League movement. About this we will talk in the next lecture, right? Now there is one more thing that I would like to say over here, talk to you over here, and this is related to the very important thing actually. And this is, if you like this video, please, it's my humble request that you share this video on the social media channels, and you can click on the like button. That really encourages me. I get to know, if this video, how this video is, if you are really benefited by this or not, okay? And if you have any suggestion, comments, you can always comment. Sooner or later I do reply to them, right? And you can also subscribe to us, okay? And if you want all the emails to come right into your mailbox, right? And here is this button, you have to click on this to subscribe, right? And so that is all, and thank you so much for watching this.